Now I have your number. Thanks.
Hey, I'm Robbie Kramer. You're listening to the Leverage Podcast, where we discuss using your social skills to hack dating, travel, finding your dream job, and becoming a complete man.
Oh, you're fine. You're good. So we had some listeners on the YouTube channel ask for more of my stories from the past. And if you guys ask, we will give. And Nick has decided to sit in and be the audience, I guess you could say.
You'll know to laugh when I laugh.
He's our stand-up laugh guy. That's good. So today I want to tell a funny story about my first time in Ukraine. And I guess it's good due to like relevant current events, given the whole Ukraine-Russia situation. Talked a little bit about it on the crypto investing podcast from last week. It wasn't really crypto investing. It was more about understanding crypto terms and stuff like NFTs and DeFi, because I just really didn't understand any of that shit. But now I do. So if you're into crypto or you want to get more sort of up to speed on what everyone's talking about, that's a good podcast to listen to. That's episode 184. And now we're still here. It's like the beginning of February almost. Russia still hasn't invaded Ukraine. A bunch of our American friends have left, and a bunch are still there. And I think it's really hurting the Ukrainian economy that all the Western news sources are running like so many ads about, or not ads, running so many stories. Maybe they are running ads, running so many stories. It's really hurting my Airbnb business in Kiev, that's for sure. Like, way less people are traveling. There was also a post from the president of Ukraine, Zelensky, or not a post, it was I think he gave a speech about how, like, well, Russia hasn't invaded, so stop running news about it. You have nothing else to talk about, clearly.
He was complaining to foreign media outlets.
We're hurting the Ukrainian economy, which is totally true.
Yeah,
you know,
it's true.
It's fucking stupid Americans.
What's kind of the timeline?
They have nothing to talk about, so all they do is run the same stories over and over.
Is there a time frame? Because like I heard, once it gets warm enough, Putin won't want to invade because it'll turn the landscape into like mud for his tanks and stuff. So is there like, March, can we move back if nothing happens?
Yeah, I heard the same thing. I heard he's most likely to invade. Everyone thought it was like going to be January 15th for some reason, because that's when the ground would be frozen, and a lot of the eastern regions of Ukraine are like, you know, muddy fields, or they would be muddy fields. Mm-hmm. If it rained or something like that, or trying to get tanks through there, they maybe just sit in the mud. So if the ground is frozen, obviously that wouldn't be an issue. Come, I guess, probably March or April, you know?
It's good to go back.
Maybe.
It seems so retarded in the modern era that, like, you still wage war based on the seasons. You know, like, stick your finger up and wind is good for day.
The arrows are going to be going against our archers. So better,
like, you think of weather as being like a 19th century kind of warfare problem, not a 21st century.
Every war I ever studied that involved Russia had to do with
always the cold.
Russia won because it was too cold for everyone else. You know, totally. Napoleon tried to come in. It was too cold for him. And, you know, Hitler, too cold for him too. He couldn't get past Kiev. So I don't know. Like, Kiev is, you know, Hitler got to Kiev. Kiev is cold. Moscow is cold. I don't know how much colder Moscow is than Kiev.
I think it was just the distance over which they were traveling. Like, there's so much more cold land they had to cover.
That's true.
And in Russia, their slash and burn thing, I think, where they just, no one gets to use this land. Fuck you.
Yeah. So that's the Ukraine update. It's really cheap if you want to go now, that's for sure. Got my Airbnb prices down by like 25, 30%.
Ouch.
So, and I'd imagine, well, actually, I don't know. Do you think if they, I don't want to get into the hype. I'm thinking if they did,
We can just cut it.
well, if they did like all of a sudden invade,
Uh,
how difficult do you think it'd be to get out?
to get out?
Yeah, it could be difficult if they.
Depends on the part of the region.
Well, if they did think about invading, they would come down through Belarus,
Yeah,
and that's
so
very
it's
close to
tough.
Kiev. It's very close to Kiev.
Yeah.
It's only like an
A
hour and a
couple
half.
hours away.
Yeah,
Is it
and then they'd come
a
from
couple
the
hours
east
for
and the
us
south.
in an Uber? Do you think it's a couple hours for like a tank that's like, having missiles shot at it or whatever? Like, I don't know.
It would be slower, but I'd imagine they'd probably close the airports and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Our friend Mickey, he went to Western Ukraine, to Lviv, just to, in case something happened, it'd be easier for him to get out.
Mhm.
You can drive through either Poland or Romania or
Yeah, I just imagine if they're
Hungary.
coming to Kiev, like I just don't know what the response is going to be militaristically from the rest of the world. Like, is there going to be battle lines drawn and
I don't think they'll help.
sieges around, and like Kiev is going to be under siege and they're going to cut off the power to the region or something like that? Or is it just going to be like, okay, this place now has a Russian flag, like our government sucks, but whatever. Coffee's still $2.
I have no idea. I really have no idea.
Yeah.
But hopefully that doesn't happen because Ukraine's a wonderful place, and not a
Might still
don't really have anything bad to say about
Yeah.
Russia. I've been there, whatever. But it's good as it is, right? So why do we need to change it? So the first
Spoken like a true philosopher.
the first time I went to Ukraine was in 2015, and we did a leverage or intercompetence immersion program. It's part of the leverage group. You've been on an immersion. You've helped on. You've been on 2 immersions, right?
Yes.
You did
And
the
I've helped on one.
nice. This was at the time before operations were kind of set up in where they are now in Ukraine. I was running the company mainly from the US, but every summer we would do like a Euro trip. It was like a traveling immersion. So in 2013 and 2014, we did Budapest, Belgrade. We did Belgrade, Serbia, Budapest, Hungary. We also did Istanbul, and then we did Thessaloniki, Greece. One of those 2 years, and then everyone was telling me go to Ukraine. You got to go to Ukraine. Women are more beautiful. It's awesome, but I was scared of going to Ukraine because all my friends and family, just the general sort of news was like Ukraine is dangerous. There's a war there, blah blah blah. And in 2014, to be fair, there was that was the beginning of what started the Russian conflict that's been ongoing ever since. But in where I was going, which is Odessa in 2015, there was absolutely zero fighting or anything close to that region. So, people said, don't go, it's dangerous, it's a war, blah, blah. Other people said, my people I knew that were from Ukraine were like, that's retarded, just go, it's awesome. So anyways, I went, took a few guys, and we did the immersion in Odessa. That was the first stop. And one of the nights we went to Club Ibiza, which is like the most popular club in Odessa. And from there, we went to this after party. The after party was at this place called the Fancy Room. And I just remember that name stood out to me, Fancy Room, because it was so ridiculous. Like, who names the club the Fancy Room? There was nothing fancy about this room whatsoever. It was like an underground sort of, goes all night, hard house music, like rave den. It was like a rave cave, basically. Like a druggy rave cave.
Is this like when you see Chinese people with like English on their shirts and it says something ridiculous like I like bears or something, like it doesn't make any sense, but it's just because it's a foreign language, like.
Yeah, that was like that, exactly. It was like Fancy Room. We'll call it the Fancy Room. So, we went to Ibiza, and we organized this little after party. We brought like 3 or 4 girls home. I was hooking up with one girl. I remember one of the guys in the program. We'll call him. His name sounds like Turban, so we'll just call him. Well, Sherman, closer to Sherman. We'll call him Sherman. He was almost hooking up with one of the other girls, but there was some cock blocking happening from one of the other guys. So he was kind of like, he was on the 1 yard line, but couldn't get in the end zone. So at like 3 a.m., 4 a.m., he's like, I want to go out again. This is bullshit. I got cock blocked.
Why was the other guy cock blocking him?
He wasn't like a purposeful cock block. I think he was just, he was like almost hooking up with this girl, but then I think some other guy came in and like asked him for condoms. And that, basically like brought attention to the fact that he might have sex with his girl. Right. And I think if she probably would have had sex, except the whole like, oh, now you're having sex. This guy's asking for condoms. Sort of, oh, maybe I shouldn't.
Okay.
Came into her
Brought too
head.
much attention to it.
Yeah, exactly. So
That sucks for him.
yeah, I mean, whatever. I think he ended up having sex with her the next day. So yeah, wasn't a big deal, but it was definitely like, imagine you're like right about to hook up with a girl and someone bangs on your door like, hey man, you get condoms.
Yeah. All right, makes more sense now.
Yeah. So we scolded the other guy for this nonsense, but Sherman wanted to go to the fancy. Well, you wanted to go out, and I was like, we were staying in the same building that the fancy room was in.
Okay.
And
so it's not that crazy going out at 3 a.m. then.
we were already like out partying.
I want to go downstairs. Yeah.
Yeah, but we didn't even know it was like a after party club. We didn't even know it. We just saw this name. It said fancy room. We're like, okay, let's why not? Let's try this place. So we go to this place, and this place was like, it was ridiculous. Like I said, it was like a rave cave. It was only a handful of people in there. And Sherman quickly was like, this sucks. I'm going home. So he went home. And I had this, I've always had this sort of kind of like, it only takes one if there's still, options to be had. And I remember there was a few cute girls in there. So I said, what the hell? I'll try to at least hit on a few more girls before going to bed.
It's very philosophical of you.
At the time, I remember thinking like, all right, what is a good opening line for this place? And I'm like, definitely the people in here are using drugs. There's no way that they're not. It's like 5 or 6 in the morning at this time. Yeah. It's just that sort of vibe at this place. So I figured, that's the best opening lines are things that fit the environment.
Okay.
So I don't remember exactly what I said, but it was some version of like, do you guys like illegal drugs? And do you have any? I promise I'm not a cop or whatever, but no one was really worried about that in Ukraine at this time, right? No one was like, oh, he must be an undercover cop, right? It's like, no, he's in the fancy room, right? And the way I was delivering it was making people laugh. And I remember there was this guy and he was with a couple girls. I walked over and delivered the line. And he was like, bro, where are you from? With like a total American accent. He turns out to be from San Diego, which is where I'm from. And he's like from Moldova originally, but was living in Ukraine and went to university in San Diego. So we immediately hit it off. And he's just asking me like a million questions about what am I doing there? He's like, dude, I haven't seen an American here, since forever ago. It's so crazy that you're here, blah, blah, blah. And we start talking about girls and chicks, and we just end up like totally hitting it off. So, nothing happens that night. We go home. But then the next day was our last night in Odessa. And the following day we were flying to Istanbul, actually, to Turkey, which is like the second leg of the immersion. So we were doing like 5 days in Odessa, 4 days in Istanbul, and then finishing it off in, I think, Budapest.
Wow, that's really long.
Yeah, it was like a 2-week.
Wow, cool.
Yeah, it was a 2-week immersion. Because we're traveling from the US, might as well go for a 2 weeks. So it was like, yeah, it was basically 5, 5, and 5. I think we did 5 days in each place. It was 15 days. And so that was like a day off, because I think it was like a Monday night, right? So we just basically partied for 4 nights straight, but then we had a night off. But this guy hits me up. His name's Alex, and he hits me up that last night, and I've got the night off because all the guys are either on dates or they're just kind of, like I said, we had a flight at like, I think 9 a.m. or 8 a.m. the next day. So he's like, hey man, let's go out. I've got some chicks. I'm like, okay. So we go to this place in Odessa, in Arcadia Beach. It's called the Roastery, which is like a cool hookah shisha place. If anyone's been to Odessa, they know this place. Like right as you walk into Arcadia Beach, which is like a long walkway down to the beach, and there's restaurants and bars and stuff on the way. It's a cool shisha joint, and it's kind of like has a pop-up DJ. So he shows up with these 2 girls. They're both cute. Well, they're hot. I would say more hot than cute. And
Wait, like, okay.
what do you mean? Like as I'm telling you the story, like
It
they're
sounds
cute.
like you're saying that they're not cute.
No, they're cute. They're hot.
Like, hot is a better description.
Hot's a better description.
Okay.
Yeah. But they spoke almost zero English.
Okay.
So neither, like, he spoke perfect English, of course. They spoke zero English. And I had quite a bit of experience trying to flirt with non-English speakers, and my kind of go-to was always to go on Instagram, show photos. At the time, this was in 2015, I had Instagram, it just wasn't super popular then, not like it is now anyways. But so I tried a bit to kind of flirt with the one, because we kind of paired off, right? We showed up, we're smoking shisha. Clearly one seems more interested in him, and the other one seemed sort of interested in me, but not, she wasn't giving like crazy signs, right? Okay. So he says, after like 30 or 45 minutes, she's giving me a little bit more love, and he's like, hey, let's go back to my place and let's party there. And he had been telling me the night before about like orgies he's gone to and lots of crazy fun he's had. So I was like, okay, cool. These, I'm guessing he's not going to show up with some girls who aren't fun. So I assume like they know each other, right? And I had no idea about their background because I can't understand any of the conversation, and he's not translating anything either. It's just like
sink or swim, motherfucker.
Yeah. But whatever.
Got you 2 girls,
Yeah. No, I'm totally happy.
Cool.
So we're, I knew he was staying just above like Arcadia Beach in one of the hotels or Airbnbs there. And so we walk out, and I'm assuming we're just going to like walk up to where he's staying, but we make a left, we go to like the taxi area, and we flag down a taxi. And it was like the shittiest taxi, where it was like an old piece of shit Soviet, like, I don't even know. It was like a Lada Zhigli, one of those cars.
What you're talking about.
The Lada is a brand of car. It's like a Russian car, and Zhigli is like one of their models.
Okay.
I might be butchering that, but it's fucking called a Jiggly. How good could it be, right? Just picture like the oldest, shittiest little like square box like car. But the driver's side was on the right, so it was like British driving style. Because when I got in as a passenger, I got in on the left, so I'm like sitting on the left, and there's no steering wheel there. I'm like, what the fuck? And I'm like, there's like no separation on the floor between the pedals and me. So how usually there's like a separating thing, so I could just like reach over and like just press the pedals and this car was just a huge piece of shit. So this, Alex was in the back with these 2 girls, and I'm like, dude, where we going? Like, oh, it was okay, bro. We just got to make a quick stop. So we're driving through this part of Odessa that I really didn't know anything about. It's late at night. it looks like a total shithole once you get out of the center. You know, it just looks like shitty, you know, former, the ugly like Soviet block housing, right?
A bunch of cubes everywhere.
Yeah, and you know, it's just not very well maintained. And I'm, you know, at this point, I'm not like, I'm still a foreigner. I'm like, oh, this is a crazy far off land. I'm not super comfortable. You know, I'm in this piece of shit, like rickety car. I'm like, is this guy even a taxi driver? Because it wasn't really clear. It was like, I wasn't even sure if this was a cab. I mean, he had the cab meter thing going, but it wasn't even working. So,
pre-Uber.
yeah. So we make a stop, and one of the girls runs out. She comes back and she takes out her phone. She dumps some white powder on the phone, starts chopping it up. So I turned to Alex. I'm like, what is that, a Coke? And he's like, I don't think so.
Okay.
Like, what the fuck could it be? Like speed? He's like, yeah, I think it's some shitty mix of like speed and Coke or whatever. And so they all do it, and they're like, you want to try? I'm like, I mean, peer pressure. I'm like, I can't really say no.
To make sure they're not gonna have a heart attack first.
They all do this. I can't really say no. Okay, fine. And I had really tried Coke. You know, I wasn't like a big Coke user or anything. Like I had done it before, but I wasn't like, not good enough to really know the difference, right? So when I tasted, I was like, doesn't seem like what I've tried before. That's for sure. But then again, like, you know, so 5 or 10 minutes pass, and I'm like, I don't really feel anything except for paranoid, right? Definitely not any sort of resemblance of a good
Probably
feeling.
a justifiable paranoia too.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So
like it's hard to tell if that's the drugs or just the fact that you put a bunch of weird shit in your body in a foreign country,
right,
with the 3 people you don't know.
Good point.
And only one of which you can talk to.
Right. And the weird sort of taxi driver guy. So I remember at one point the girl who I was kind of paired off with like reached her hand over and she was like kind of massaging me. So like, oh, okay. So
drugs are nice.
It was enough to be like, okay, I'm going to continue on with this journey because it was getting late at this point. We're still not anywhere closer to Alex's place, which was where we're supposed to be going. You know,
you have no clue where you're going.
I have a really good sense of direction, but he said we're going to my place.
Yeah.
I know where the restaurant was. I know where his place was. And, you're right, because they didn't tell me, right? But he was like, we just have to make a quick stop, and then we're going to go to my place. So I assumed the stop was to get this whacked out speed substance, right? And then I'm like, okay, now we'll go back to his place. But the cab starts going in the other direction. You know, and I've got my map open and I'm like, yo, man, we're not going, looks like we're going the wrong way. He's like, oh, we got another stop to make. I guess like she wants to grab something from home. And I'm like, okay. So we're driving, you know, 5 minutes goes by, 10 minutes go by. And I'm just looking at the map, right? And like, Odessa's a big city, but we're already in the south part, right? And when you go south from Odessa, you're just basically going down along like the Black Sea, and there's not a lot. Like the city ends relatively quickly. And then after like 15 minutes, I'm like, dude, we're so like, where are we going? We're so far like from the center.
Dude, I'm glad I know you survived this story. It sounds really bad.
Yeah, and he's like, no, it's fine, man. I said, you know, she lives a little bit of outside the city. She just has to grab something. Right. And he's being like super vague. Yeah, about it
sounds real sketch.
And we keep going. Now we're like 30 minutes outside the city. And I'm really starting to get worried. Like all these crazy thoughts are going through my head. I don't know if it's the crazy shitty speed that we took plus the, you know, so like, I'm like, what if what if they're trying to steal my kidneys or my liver? And I was worried that they would like somehow, I was like, okay, how would they do it? Right? Because they have to incapacitate me somehow. They'd have to like grab me or shoot me or something. They're probably not going to do it while driving, but maybe they're going to like strangle me from the back. So, I'm sitting in the front, right? The driver's here, and he's like not saying a word. He's just driving. So I started kind of sitting like this, so they couldn't like. So I was like, this sitting.
That's really gonna stop a knife.
Like this, no, because I thought they were gonna try to like.
Okay.
Right? But this was a knife. I'd be
Your
able
hands
to,
like this.
yeah. I was like this a little bit too, kind of like this, and then. So he's like, "Hey man, you okay? Is everything good up there?" I'm like, "Yeah, fine, super. You want any more of the? No, I'm good." We pull into this.
Could you imagine if like he could see inside your head and be like, he's standing this way because he thinks I'm about to strangle him, like just like your man heard what your thoughts were.
Yeah. So we pull into we pull off the highway. The highway is like not even really a highway at this point. Like it turns into just like a shitty
Gravel.
Not gravel, still like a road, but went from like 2 lanes and like dividers and lights to like 1 on both sides in a shitty, just normal road. Then we pull off that road onto a dirt road, and we start passing chickens and dogs and like livestock. And I'm like, wow, we're in a fucking village. It's like there's a chicken running across the road. And then we stop at this little like 7-Eleven type store. And this is like a literal village. There's like a babushka out there sweeping dirt. Like I was like, what is she sweeping? Like she's got one of these like big brooms that's just like sweeping the dirt road at like, this is like 3 a.m, 4 a.m. I'm like, this is so odd. It's like out of some horror movie. So we go into like the 7-Eleven stores. They came in, you want anything? I'm like, dude, what the fuck is going on? I'm like, dude, we're like 35, 45 minutes outside. I thought we were going back to your house. He's like, dude, I don't know with this chick. She's being so weird. She like wanted to come and like get something from her house. I think she has a kid or something. So turns out this girl like lived in this village and had to go all the way home to like feed her baby or something. Like I think she was planning on, just going out for a few hours and then coming home. But then she started doing some whacked up, speed or whatever the shit was, and decided she wanted to stay out and party instead of doing her mama duties. So she just like went home and like checked on the baby, and then we get back in the car.
This whole time you think you're gonna be murdered.
Yeah. No, mama had to go back to the village to like make sure the baby's okay.
Why didn't they just say that from the beginning?
That would make way too much sense. So at this point, I'm like, all right, I'm probably not going to get my liver, kidney stolen, right? And I'm like, dude, like, how do you not know? He's like, I don't know, man. These girls are weird. I'm like, I thought you knew them. He's like, no, not really. Like, I was making out with one of them the night before, but this, right? So I'm like, well, what are we doing? Like, can we go back to fucking, like, do I need to get my own cab? Are you like, no, he's like, oh, we're going back right now. Here, let's get something at the store. What do you need from the store? I'm like, whiskey or lemon? No, I don't want anything. Just fucking take me home. It's annoying. So then we get back in the car and they're like, you want any more? No, I'm good. So we're driving back, and then we stop at a pharmacy. And I'm like, what are we doing now? Bro, she needs to get something from the pharmacy. This is all like the same girl who's doing those stops. And it's not the girl that I'm trying to get with. It's the other one that he likes, right? So she goes into the pharmacy and she comes out, gets in the back of the car, and pulls out this weird, like, looks like a carton. And it had what I would describe as like, it looked like Elmer's glue in it, like a white gooey substance, and it smelled completely inedible. And I have no idea what's on. She starts like kind of like smearing it like here, and then like kind of eating it. I'm like, what the fuck? What is it? Want to try it? No thanks. And to this day, I still have no idea what this.
What the fuck?
I have no idea what the fuck this girl was eating or doing. 5 minutes later, now we're driving in. 5 minutes later, we stop at the hospital, And he's like, bro, this girl's really not feeling well. She's got to go. We got to take her to the
She just
hospital.
smeared glue all over her teeth.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm like, man, can you help me get a taxi so I can get home? Like, it's like 4:30 in the morning. The sun's coming up. I'm like, I don't, I'm like, dude, are you trying to bang this girl still? He's like, yeah.
The girl that just went into the hospital is still trying to bang her.
I guess they had like made out
They
more,
have
but so
Wow.
so we
I'm surprised this girl is still like she's got a kid at home, putting this weird shit all over her lips in the hospital.
I don't know what it was.
She's still going.
I mean, it's obviously not like it's something from the pharmacy, so it's not like an illegal substance, right? So it's got to be something you could obviously digest but I don't know what it was. It was just fucking strange. It smelled terrible. So now she's in the hospital, and I'm like, where I come from in America, you don't just go to the hospital for a few minutes, right?
Yeah.
You're in there for minimum 4 to 5 hours, but she was out within like 7 minutes. And then we're just stopping by the hospital for, I don't know, feel bad, gotta go. Well, that's one thing I realized later in Ukraine is people go to the hospital for like almost nothing because the healthcare is like so affordable. Yeah, it's like, oh, I have a stomach ache, go to the hospital. The ambulance is coming for you. I had like an EMT team show up because I was at a cold, and some of the girls in Kiev like called the EMT for me, and they're like, Robbie, you said you were sick. I have like, here's
around 20 doctors.
Yeah. Like, how much is this going to cost me?
I know.
Like $5,000 in the US.
I know. In the US, I'm like, get that fucking ambulance away from you.
Get away.
Yeah.
It was free, completely free.
No.
Yeah. So we get back in the car.
This is why all the Europeans become hypochondriacs when they go to America, because they're just like, they can't have access to that. They just start getting paranoid that they might die at any moment if they don't have a hospital that they could just walk into.
Yeah, it's so weird. It's like, my biggest regret in my like I don't know, like mid-20s was I got hit with a hockey puck, and it was like killing my foot, so I went to the hospital. Turned out it was just like a bad bruise, and it cost me $3,000 to get the x-rays and this. I'm like, pussy, it was just like a bruise. You fucking pussy, you waste $3,000.
Roll the dice.
I was sure my foot was broken because it was like so painful. Like it was like 2 or 3 hours after I got hit, but it just got worse and worse and worse. And like, take me to the hospital. This is brutal. But yeah, fucking $3,000 down the toilet. So
that's your worst mistake in your life. That's the thing you're burned the most about.
No, I said in my like mid-late 20s. Yeah. All right. Maybe there's been some things slightly worse. Pretty lucky. All right.
Yeah. No, that sounds brutal.
Yeah. You don't want to waste $3,000 on a hockey shot in the skate. So yeah, she gets out of the hospital, and at this point, I say to Alex, I'm like, dude, I'd really like to hook up with my girl, but it's almost 5 a.m. The sun's like, it's light out. I've got a flight in just a handful of hours, and I don't know. We're gonna get back to your house. Maybe the girls are going to stop for some more,
teeth
cream or crack or speed or whatever this shitty crap was that we were sorting. Can you just please take me back to my Airbnb, or like I'll just try to get a taxi from somewhere? And he's like, yeah, man, no problem, man. So I guess he told the girls in Russian that we're like going back to drop me off, and one of them was like, the one I liked. She was like, oh, home, doma, like trying to speak to me, but didn't even know the word for like home. Was saying like home in Russian, right? Hadn't said a word to me in English all night. So, and I'm just like, yeah, I'll sleep. So we get back, we get out of the car and, do the bro hug with Alex. His like whacked out girl like doesn't even get out of the car. My girl gets out of the car, like she looks genuinely sad that I'm leaving, right? And then gives me a hug, and then says to me in almost perfect English, "It was really nice meeting you." I'm like, you too. And I walk in.
Like she just had that one phrase memorized, right?
But it was such a mind fuck because who's going to memorize that phrase? It was really nice meeting you.
That's true.
Not like, and I know most Russian speakers, they say, nice to meet you, you know, when you're leaving. That's kind of like what they say, nice to meet you. But she said, it was really nice meeting you, which is like a pretty advanced.
Complex past tense in there.
Yeah. So I'm just like completely brain fucked by this. Like, what the fuck?
Have you tried speaking to her at all?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, of course. She couldn't even say like home, like doma.
She says goodbye to a lot of people. She's got a lot of practice with that one.
Dude, I'm still totally perplexed by this. And when she said that, like I was too like just tired and out of my mind to even like really register it. But I got this like huge wave of regret like wash over me. I'm like, oh, I should have gone back. I should have gone to his house and tried to bang her. This is such a blunder mistake. How the fuck, you idiot? I'm like, well, I did a flight. I basically went home, packed, and like went to the airport.
Oh yeah, man.
I mean, I maybe slept for like an hour or two, but it was very close. But I was like, no, I should have just got my stuff and like gone to the airport from there. I'm like, no, that's not very responsible. What if the guys didn't make the flight, blah, blah, blah. But I was like really kicking myself. And then of course, like I call him later the next day and I'm like, how'd it go? He's like, dude, I had the craziest threesome with those girls. Fuck you, man. Fuck you. You fucking asshole. Oh my God, I was so fucking like
so much sunk cost.
Oh my God. Just buried my entire night. My next day.
The whole next day sucked.
I felt awful. The
Tired
next
as
day
fuck
from
and
that,
so much regret.
from that crap that we did.
Oh yeah.
Oh. So the good news is I didn't have my liver or kidneys
That's
stolen.
true.
I wasn't fucking
could have gone a lot
strangled from the back seat.
I bet you had a plan for it.
Yeah. Turns out the cab driver was a real cab driver.
Yeah, everything was on the level.
Everything was normal. She just had to go back to the village 45 minutes away to feed her baby. But just like a hot chick wearing obviously there's lots of hot mommies out there, but just totally unexpected. So but on the plus side, I got to see the outskirts of Odessa. I got to see like a real genuine Ukrainian village with a babushka sweeping dirt and
Just
like
dirt.
dogs running around and
There's a lot of dirt out here to sweep this morning.
I got to understand the emergency rooms in Ukraine are in and out in 5 minutes. And
No problem.
yeah, so I did end up going back to Ukraine, I think 3 weeks later, like right when the immersion ended. Never did reconnect with that girl, but she messaged me a few times, and I was always like, "Is this Google Translate? There's no perfect English." But that was the biggest mindfuck of the whole thing. So that's the story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so for you guys listening, if any of that sounded interesting, you want to check out the Leverage program. Highly recommend getting into.
Did you hear how responsible he was for his clients? So
Yes.
He didn't fuck the girl because he had to get to where his guys were going to be. That's
a good quality coach right there.
Yeah, that's the kind of dedication you get.
Yep.
But he's also out there the night before doing the research that it takes so that
Everyone got laid on that trip too, so it was a big success.
Nice. How
So,
many
yeah.
guys?
That was 5.
I mean, well, that's pretty good. 5 for 5, and but you had 2 weeks, so that helps too.
Yeah. No one got laid in
San Diego.
Istanbul.
Oh, the place where we're going now for a month.
Yes.
Fantastic.
So people did great in Ukraine and Hungary and Budapest.
Why no Istanbul action?
Well, we were only there for 3 days. It was a short trip. That was like the middle. Well, it was 5, but like 2 of the travel days, and
It was,
Mm-hmm.
I think it was 4 nights,
Mm-hmm.
but it was also during the middle of the week. It was like Monday through Thursday.
Okay.
So the nightlife, Monday through Friday, the nightlife was, I planned that intentionally. We needed to stop between Kiev and Budapest. And the flights just worked out the
Was it
easiest.
pretty much all night game? Because I feel like 5 days isn't enough time to do like the normal day game.
Well, that's what we did. We did a lot of day games in Istanbul, but it was like, the guys went on some dates, but you're only there for 5 days.
Right.
And the night game there was just not great during the middle of the week.
Mhm.
So I scrapped Istanbul from the itinerary in future years.
Mhm.
But
Better to do fewer places and stay longer, I would think.
yeah, exactly. I mean, that's why now we just do Kiev,
Kiev,
or
yeah.
we do
I think that's
party
best.
trips to wherever. So yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed the story, and if you like this, let us know. Leave a comment, and we'll do more stories.
I was worried about you for a second there. I didn't know. I was like, I was gonna find out you only have one kidney now. Like, I really could have gone bad.
Could have gone real bad,
Yeah.
but don't try the Coke either in Ukraine. It's basically
Or
like that. all the
whatever
time.
the magic stone.
It's
is.
got to come all the way from South America.
Yeah,
So by the time it gets to,
it's been cut with a bunch of flour.
yeah, exactly. So
You can basically make bread out of it.
good. All right, guys. Peace out.
Thanks for listening. If you want more, go to innerconfidence.com and don't forget to subscribe to this podcast for the latest episodes.